So this is the second part of our conclusion, how to put it all together. And I have used a little bit of stuff from Jamie Snedden's site, so credit to him. So we're talking now about sampling variability, how everybody's sample will be different. And that's why you can't copy in this standard, because yours will be different from everybody else's. Every sample taken from the population is likely to be different. There's a very, very small chance it could be the same. But they will all have different statistics, and they will tell us different stories. So we need to write something that acknowledges this in our investigation. Something that says, if I was to repeat this sampling process and take another random sample, I would get different data and expect to see different results and different summary statistics. However, because I have used the ICI, I'd expect those to be fairly similar, and I'd expect the outcome to be the same as the previous sample and be able to make the same conclusions. We would expect that to happen. It doesn't always. As you'll have seen from the last video, I had two separate pictures with the same 50 from each, and one said that you could make a call and one said that you couldn't. So it is, you'd expect to have it. It's not an absolute surety. So when you put your conclusion together, you need to restate your question. My question was that I wondered whether and then you need to state your claim. So one group's median is greater than the other back in the population because of the ICIs overlapping or not. So you need to back that up with that claim data. Then you need to write a comment about sampling variability, similar to the one I just showed you. It's good to try and write that in your own words to show you understand. And then you need to reflect on the whole process if you're trying to get an excellence. Is there anything you could have done differently? So there always is things that you could do differently. So possible things to reflect on is if you repeated this again to see whether or not you get the same results. That could be something you could do. And if you got it twice, you'd be a little bit more convinced that whatever your particular inference was, whether or not you could make a call, would be the right call. Another thing you could do is if your two ICIs are only just overlapping, maybe there's only a slight difference between them, then you could perhaps take a bigger sample. If you take a larger sample, because that's increasing the size of n, and n is your divisor, it will actually decrease the size of your informal confidence interval. All right? So remember that because of the square root in the formula, the new sample will need to be quite a lot bigger to make a difference. So making a sample 4 times bigger will approximately halve the size of your ICIs. All right, so you need to say something along those lines, but it needs to be backed up on why you're doing it. Don't just say this. It's not going to help you if you can't tell me why you're actually doing it. You could perhaps look at asking a different question to see if there was something else that was lying behind the data. So returning and going through it all over again. Or you could connect your assessment to some sort of research that backs you up or contradicts what you've been saying. So did you actually expect those results? Why would you expect those results? There's also one last thing you could look at, and that is subgroups. You could either colour by colour. So here in the NZ Grapher, we've coloured by male and female, even though we were looking at east versus west. So we could talk about the fact that the males were a lot heavier than the females, and that perhaps if we got more males in one group than females, that would have shown something that was different from comparing the east and the west. Same here, all right? So this is splitting them into the 4 groups without the colours. That would tell us the same sort of information. So sometimes we can look at how it could have been looked at in a different way, the third variable, and perhaps if you have coloured by that, it's worth talking about. All right, so last thing you need to do is finish off your particular Google Doc and maybe get your teacher to have a look at it and see how well you've done. Awesome job, guys.